Hi, everyone. This is Carrie Plath from Teach Abroad at CIEE. Thank you so much for joining our webinar today. I'm here with Sam. Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Samantha Irwin. I am the Teach in Spain coordinator with our programs, but I'm going to be here helping out Carrie today to chat a little bit more about all of our programs with you.
Perfect, thanks. And I am the coordinator for our Thailand, Vietnam, and Czech Republic programs, but we're going to be going over all of our programs today, so hopefully you will find this useful and helpful. We want it to be as interactive as possible, but unfortunately we can't unmute everyone, so if you have questions, definitely write them in the questions bar, and we'll be sure to answer them either if they relate to the current slide or by the end of the webinar. So don't worry, if you write it and it's still waiting there, we will get to it. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. So just out of curiosity, if you guys want to write in the questions bar at this time, are there any programs that you're really interested in today? Are you just more starting to your search? We're just kind of curious what you're looking for. Great. So some people here for Spain and Chile. Anyone else? Great. And some people just starting their search. So it looks like we have a good variety. China, Vietnam, so pretty much all of our programs. So this is great. So without further ado, we'll keep going. So which program is right for you? So first of all, we want to explain a little bit about CIEE. We're a smaller team at CIEE. CIEE is a nonprofit organization, and we've been around for over 70 years. So we help with international exchanges, both helping college students and high school students come work and live in the United States to study. And also we help a lot of native English speakers go teach English abroad, as well as many Americans go teach and study abroad, and also go on university and high school gap years. So we have a lot of different programs, and our Teach Abroad team consists of Stephen, Luke, Sam, myself, and Sagan. And Stephen is our director, and Luke's our senior coordinator working with our Morocco and China programs. Sam works with most of our Spain programs, as she said. I'm working with our Vietnam, Thailand, and Czech Republic programs, and Sagan's working with Chile, Dominican Republic, and South Korea programs, as well as Portugal. So we are all here to help you. We've all taught abroad before and really have a passion for sharing our love of teaching abroad with you. So we're excited to try to find a program that works for you. So first of all, you are hopefully going to be able to decide where you want to teach abroad. We have a range of programs in multiple different continents. So we have our Chile, China, Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, Morocco, Portugal, South Korea, Spain, Thailand, and Vietnam programs. So there's definitely something for everyone. The first thing you need to know is for our programs, we do have eligibility requirements. For all of our programs, you must be a native English speaker, and you must also have a bachelor's degree. Your bachelor's degree can be in any field. For some programs, there's more specific requirements, but in general, you do need a bachelor's degree. You also need to be a citizen of an English-speaking country. For example, the United States, the United Kingdom, Ireland, Canada, Australia, South Africa, or New Zealand. And there are programs that do require additional experience. So sometimes a Tefl certification or teaching English as a foreign language is required. If it's required, it is included in the program. Sometimes it's optional. Sometimes there's language skills, specifically there's Spanish language skills, and sometimes there are countries with age restrictions due to visa regulations and school regulations. So we'll go into more details about which programs require what, but in general, you need to remember for our programs, you typically just need to be a native English speaker, a citizen of an English-speaking country, and to have a bachelor's degree by the time you go on the program. One important thing to note is when you're applying, if you're just graduating, you can always upload a letter from your school registrar or advisor stating your anticipated graduation date and degree, and that way you can apply while you're still completing your bachelor's degree as long as you have it before your departure. So, as we just mentioned, you need to speak the language. So there is a Spanish language requirement for some of our programs. There are no other language requirements. It's only some of the Spanish countries that do require it. So many of the programs in Spain, the professional and volunteer program do not have a requirement, but all of the other programs in Spain do. And it could range from basic level of Spanish to high intermediate to advanced, and Sam will tell us a bit more about that later. Also, the Teach in Chile program, not the Teach in Chile immersion, but the Teach in Chile program does require Spanish. They prefer intermediate Spanish. Sometimes they are able to accept basic Spanish. So that's another program. And then the Dominican Republic as well does have a Spanish requirement. Other than that, if you're interested in going to volunteer in Spain or to go to the Czech Republic or China or South Korea, you definitely do not need to speak the language. All right, so then you need to think, how long do you want to be abroad? Most of our programs are going to be from 10 to 12 months, but we do have some shorter programs. Our Spain volunteer and Portugal volunteer programs, which we have multiple departures every year, are only 3 months long. So that's a great way to get your feet wet if you want to just see what it's like to teach abroad, but aren't ready or able to do a bigger commitment. And next we have Thailand and China, and you see an asterisk by their name. That's because you can choose on those programs 1 semester, which is 5 to 6 months, or 2 semesters, which is 10 to 12 months. And then the majority of our programs are going to require a year-long commitment, so that whether that be the teaching year of 10 months or a 12-month actual full calendar year. So all of the other programs there, the Czech Republic, Dominican Republic, Morocco, Spain, Chile, Thailand, China, and South Korea, all have the option or require you to commit to 10 to 12 months. So now we'll focus a little bit on Thailand, just to give you an intro. So Thailand, as I mentioned, is like China in that you can either choose to go abroad for 1 semester or 2. So it is a very flexible program. Thailand's our second largest program. Spain is our biggest one, but Thailand follows up in second. And we do have multiple placements in Thailand and multiple departures and a variety of options, like I said, to stay 1 or 2 semesters. So placements in Thailand, you can start in either May or June for a 1 semester or 2 semester date. You can see if you go 1 semester starting in May or June, you'll teach until the end of September. Whereas if you go 2 semesters, you'd teach from May or June until March of the following year. Our Professional Thailand program is a program that requires you to have a bachelor's degree in education, hard science, or math. And that program only departs in May, June, or July. So in that program, it's an 11-month July to June commitment. Or if you want, you can go in the fall as well, either from October to March or October to October to September on the 2-semester program. So as you can see, there's a big variety, and it does offer a lot of opportunities to leave at different points in the year. So similar to China, or even some of our other programs, you have a lot of options for when you want to go abroad. So housing, I'm sure you're wondering, where are you going to live when you're abroad? What's going to happen? So one great thing about going with CIE is we're going to be able to give you a lot of details to get your placement beforehand, and a lot of times you do have housing provided. So in South Korea, China, Thailand, the Czech Republic, and Morocco, you can have employer-provided housing. You'll see that there's an asterisk by Czech Republic again, and that is because there are different options for the Czech Republic. Czech Republic, you could be with a host family, you could find an apartment on your own, or you could be in employer-provided housing, and that's the only program that has that big variety. Other than that, the host family available options are on our volunteer programs, Spain and Portugal, and again on Czech Republic, or you might need to find your own apartment. We're able to provide assistance, but ultimately when you go on a program where you need to find your own apartment, it's going to be up to you to find that, but you do get assistance from either our CIE study centers in country or from our partners that we work with. So for Spain, Chile, Czech Republic, Vietnam, and Dominican Republic, it's ultimately going to be your responsibility to find an apartment. Some of the programs you're able to live in provided housing for the first month, for example, in Vietnam, but then you find an apartment after. And others, like Spain, you have your orientation where you have the provided orientation housing, and then you find your apartment after that. And employer provided, we went through those, but those are where your employer is going to be providing you with maybe a studio apartment or shared housing or a 1-bedroom apartment. So it does vary from country to country, but if having employer provided housing is something that's important to you, then that might help you make your decision of where you want to teach abroad. So there are lots of housing options in the Czech Republic, as I mentioned. So you can choose to live in employer-provided housing, homestay, or an apartment that you find by yourself. And the homestay would be arranged by your employer as well. So again, if you want a place where you have many different options, Czech Republic could be for you, but otherwise you'll want to keep in mind what kind of housing you'll have as you sign up for the programs. Now I think Sam will let us know what age group you can teach.
Hi, everyone. So, in addition to the housing and everything, you're going to want to, when deciding to teach, there's going to be a few of those factors that you're going to want to consider. And so one of them is going to be the age group. Are you interested in teaching younger children, whether it be kindergarten, elementary, maybe into secondary, or even university students or adults as well? If, for the programs we offer programs in Europe, Asia, and South America, where you're going to have the opportunity to teach younger children. I know South Korea and even some Spanish schools are also going to give you the opportunity to teach even, really young children as young as kindergarten age. So that's something to keep in mind. And then, for secondary schools, we have Spain, Thailand, Morocco, and the Czech Republic. And then finally, if you're interested in teaching university age students or adult professionals, I would consider our programs in China, Chile, our Spain professional program, as well as the Dominican Republic and Thailand. For the, something to think about with as well is going to be, where you want to teach between urban, suburban, or rural. So between those, it's just going to depend on which one you're looking for. If you're going to go to somewhere like South Korea or China, you're going to have a greater opportunity to work in those larger cities. We have programs or placements in Busan, Seoul, Daegu, and then also, in larger cities in China as well. For our year-long programs in Spain, we do offer guaranteed placements in the region of Madrid, which means that you're going to have a really high chance of having those placements in that larger city. But keep in mind that they are within that whole region, so there are some that are a little bit farther out in the neighboring areas. Chile and Vietnam, they're also going to give you those bigger city options. If you're looking kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum, you're going to maybe want something a little bit smaller, quieter, it maybe feels more authentic or more immersive. Our Spain and Portugal volunteer programs are going to be really great because those are all going to be in mostly rural placements within those countries as well. And then, of course, if there's kind of a nice in-between option, I'd say moving forward with Thailand, the Czech Republic, or Morocco would be a great fit. All right, so as Carrie had mentioned, and I had mentioned too, I'm the lead coordinator for the Teach in Spain programs. So let's take a little bit closer at Spain. Spain is our largest program. Our main Teach in Spain and Basics programs are offered in 2 regions. We offer them in Madrid and Andalusia. You can see Madrid is right there in the center, and then Andalusia is that large region right there on the south. For both programs, we do require that you have a bachelor's degree. And because we work with the Spanish government's North American Language and Culture Assisted Program, participants must hold citizenship in the United States or Canada to be eligible. There are additional eligibility requirements for the program. So our main Teach in Spain program is going to require that you have, some Spanish, and that's usually going to be the equivalent of, like 3 semesters of university level Spanish. Whereas, for our Basics program, this one is going to be a little bit more difficult, a little bit more strict as far as the requirements. And so we require at least 4 semesters of university level Spanish, experience living, working, or teaching in a Spanish-speaking country, and then also as well prior teaching experience. With these 2 programs, participants will work as language and culture assistants, and you'll be placed in primary and secondary public schools. If you're placed in the region of Madrid, where the cost of living is going to be higher, participants will work 16 hours a week and are paid €1,000 a month stipend from the Spanish government. However, in Andalusia, cost of living is going to be relatively cheaper, and so participants will work 12 hours a week and will be paid €700 a month. Both of these programs are going to start in the fall. Typically, depending on the program, arrival is going to be August or September. You'll start your teaching commitment in October. And then if you're in Madrid, you're going to teach until the end of June. However, if you're in Andalusia, you're going to teach until the end of May. The biggest difference between these 2 programs is going to be, the level of support upon arrival. Our main Teach in Spain program offers 4 days of orientation, And then after those days of orientation, which are going to cover all the logistical things of moving, getting your residency card, learning about banking, finding housing, teaching, all of that. After that, you're going to have an additional 5 nights of housing provided in the orientation hotel. Our basics program is only going to offer 2 nights of housing, and then as well, it'll be about a day and a half of orientation. So it's a little bit quicker. That's why with the basics program, we definitely, we require that participants are going to be a little bit more experienced because they're going to have a lot less time before they begin their teaching commitment. I would say from the point, the day of arrival to the day they start teaching is going to be less than a week. Whereas if you're in the main Teach in Spain program, you could have up to 2 or 3 weeks to get settled in, make sure you have housing secured, and so that you are prepared for your first day of teaching. If, maybe you're at a lower level of Spanish or you want to brush up on your Spanish skills, we do have our Teach in Spain plus 2 or 4 weeks of immersion programs. In these programs, you're going to hold the same position. You're going to be a language and culture assistant in public, primary, and secondary schools. However, placements are only offered in the region of Madrid. Both of these programs will have 4 days of orientation, similar to the main Teach in Spain program. We're going to go over those logistical kind of tasks and things you're going to need to do, residency cards and setting up bank accounts and phones and all of that. And then, depending on which one, if you're in the 2 or 4 week immersion program, you're going to move on to live with a host family. And you'll be staying with a host family with another CIE participant. And then during that time with your host family, you're going to be taking Spanish classes based off of your level. So you'll have a test before and once you get to Spain, and it'll kind of see what level that you're at, just to make sure that you're not in a course that's too easy or too difficult for you. We want to make sure that you're getting the most, most out of those 2 or 4 weeks that you're in the program. Our other Teach in Spain program that we have is our Teach in Spain Professional. This one is going to be a little bit different than the programs in the public schools. The Teach in Spain Professional program is designed as a partly paid internship for participants interested in teaching adults in a business setting. We've collaborated with Training Express, a leading international corporate language training firm based in Madrid, to place English teachers in local corporate settings. The nice thing about this is this program has no Spanish language requirement. So it's, it's ideal for applicants that are interested maybe in international business, networking in Spain. There is an age limit of 35 years old or younger for this program, so keep that in mind. And then during orientation, it's going to have, orientation to help get you settled in, but it's also going to include 1 month of housing when you arrive, just to give you some time to find your more permanent housing as you move forward. The Teach in Spain Professional program does have 2 start dates and 2 kind of just slightly different durations. You can start in September, and then you would work until the end of June, so essentially kind of be, like an academic year. The other option would be to start in January, and you would essentially work on a full year. With the January start date, it is important to keep in mind that the month of August would be unpaid. It's essentially, everyone in Spain is pretty much on vacation during that time, and so you would have that off unpaid, but this, it'd be the full year, but you would just have 11 months of work, essentially. Our next program is probably one of my favorite ones too, is our Teach in Spain volunteer program. This is a 3-month short-term program. While participants in the program aren't paid, you do get to live with a local host family, and they're going to provide you with breakfast and dinner each day. So it's really going to be affordable as far as what you're doing, and then in free time you can do some private tutoring if you want it as well. As a volunteer language and culture assistant, you will assist the local teachers in their classrooms for 12 hours a week, and you'll be at primary or secondary public schools. Participants will work 4 days a week, and I would say they typically have Monday or Friday off, which is really nice. A lot of participants, and I would say most of our schools are going to be bilingual schools. And so if you're placed in a bilingual school, you're going to have the opportunity to teach other subjects in English. I mean, you could be teaching an art class, science class, physical education, and they would be taught in English. And again, remember, you're going to be a language assistant, and so you're going to be supporting the local teacher in the classroom as well. So don't be too scared about, being, stuck in a science classroom. What do? You'll have that full teacher with you as well. Duties of the volunteers, and this is going to also go for the participants in the academic programs, academic year programs for the public schools, the main Teach in Spain and the others as well. Most of the positions or the duties that you'll be doing is going to be, including creating cultural presentations, maybe taking small groups of students and helping them with their conversational English, creating games related to the lesson, anything like that. In addition to the time that you're spending at your school, you're going to be living with the host family. So we ask that participants spend at least 5 hours a week tutoring their host family in English. This doesn't have to be a rigid or formal schedule. It can be worked out between you and your host family, but just keep in mind our host families are volunteers as well, and so this is going to be truly immersive experience and a really great language and cultural exchange as well. So it's important that you're prepared to be living with your host family and getting to know them and spending time with them because they want you there as well. We have 2 different placements, as you can see, that are highlighted in yellow on the screen. The first location is going to be Castilla y León, which is on the top, right above Madrid, and then the second one is Castilla-La Mancha. I would say about 75% of our placements are in Castilla y León, so you're more likely to get those placements. However, we do offer both at the same time. We have 3 different departure dates. We have departures in January, April, and October. And as I mentioned before, the program is a 3-month program, so it's going to be under 90 days. I'd say they average about 75 days. So it gives you a little bit of wiggle room as far as that goes. When you're going over on your tourist visa, and so your passport essentially, and so you're not going to need to get a visa. And so that's a really great program with that because you don't have to worry about that hassle of applying for all of that. And then another positive thing or great thing about the program is it doesn't have a Spanish language requirement. So you can be at a beginning level or more advanced level. I suppose it could be maybe helpful to be at a higher level because you are going to, at least know a little bit of Spanish because you're going to be in those more rural areas where English may not be as widely spoken. But it's still a really great program. We've had participants of all levels and all ages join those programs. A couple more things. The volunteer program does have a little bit more flexibility in their eligibility requirements. So most of our programs do require that you have a bachelor's degree. However, for our volunteer program, we're a little bit more flexible in that you only have to have at least 2 years completed. You still have to be going towards that full 4-year degree. But if you've at least completed two years, which you would show via university transcripts, then you would still be eligible for the program. And the last piece is going to be the citizenship requirements. And so for our academic year programs, participants have to be from the US or Canada. However, with these volunteer programs, we're able to extend that out to other English-speaking countries, Ireland, UK, New Zealand, Australia, anything like that. So another factor to consider when when teaching abroad, we've talked a little bit about the housing options and things like that. Is going to be pay. Things that I try to consider. If I'm going to go teach abroad, is going to be do I have to pay for housing? Do I maybe have student loans or bills back home that I need to pay for? Do I want money to travel? Things like that. And so with all these questions in mind, I would say our programs in China, South Korea, and Morocco are definitely going to have the best pay. China and South Korea are going to have housing included, which means that you're really not going to have to spend much besides food or transportation, and the amount that they're paying is relatively high as well. Our program in Morocco is going to offer a monthly stipend for housing in addition to your monthly pay, so that's really beneficial. And then kind of right there in the middle, I would say our programs in Vietnam, Thailand, Spain, and Chile, they're going to offer you a relatively comfortable lifestyle. However, there just may not be as much room for saving. All of these programs are going to offer, varying degrees of temporary housing, with the exception of Thailand, where housing is provided. And then finally, our volunteer program. It's not a paid program. However, you are having that accommodation and most of your meals provided, which is really helpful. The remaining programs, they just don't offer quite as high of pay considering the cost of living for each location. So some of them, maybe you want to arrive to the country with a little bit of savings, or it's just enough to live off of. Something to point out a little bit more too is China and South Korea. They are really going to offer you kind of the biggest bang for your buck. I mean, they're going to have the most in terms of pay and what's included. Both of these programs are going to offer rent-free housing and a very comfortable living wage. And then additionally, depending on where you're going, most of them are going to have contract bonuses. Some of them offer, airfare included and things like that. So those are really great options to consider as well. Finally, one of the things to think about, or one of the kind of the final factors that I'd want to consider when if I were teaching abroad, is going to be your role as a teacher. Are you looking to be, the lead teacher in the classroom, the only one? And maybe you're an educational major, and so this is a really great experience for you. Maybe you're weren't an education major, but you're thinking, maybe teaching is what I want to do, an assistant teacher might be a better kind of start for you to kind of dip your toes into it and see if this is something that you would like to do without having that full responsibility. And then again, you may also like to be, have something a little bit more personal, one-on-one, the tutoring style. I would say of all our programs, most of them are going to have lead teacher positions. The exception, would be Spain, our academic year programs, including the volunteer one. In the public schools, those are going to be assistant teachers, as well as the Czech Republic and the volunteer program in Portugal. If you're looking, for that more one-on-one experience, then the professional programs in Chile and Spain would be your better options. All right, so I would also like to talk just a little bit about our 2 Chile programs, the ones that we offer with us. Our Teach in Chile, our main Teach in Chile program, is a partnership between CIEE and DUOC, which is a leading technical institute in Chile, and it has campuses in Santiago, Viña del Mar, Valparaiso, Concepcion. Participants will be the lead English teacher in this classroom, pardon me, meeting the same expectations and responsibilities as your Chilean colleagues. That means that you're going to be in charge of teaching English, preparing lessons and activities, and engaging in that hands-on experience. Sorry, Carrie. All aspects of the English language will be covered from, vocabulary to verb conjugation. So it's a wide variety of things that you're going to be teaching. So you definitely want to be prepared for those. These, hours that you're going to be teaching, it's not going to include class planning, grading, faculty meetings, or any extracurricular activities. And with the main Teach in Chile program, only basic Spanish skills are required. And then the program runs typically from the end of February to mid-December. The other option is going to be the Chile Professional Program, which is a conducted partnership with a leading Chilean language instruction company based in Santiago. And so with this one, your role is going to be, to find the best way to help individuals learn. You'll be given a detailed course plan for each of those programs to kind of give you that nice foundation to build off of, so you're not going to be completely on your own. However, when you're actually planning and preparing those lessons, it's going to be up to you, but you'll just at least have that foundation, those basics to build off of. You don't necessarily have a permanent classroom with this one, with the professional program. Instead, usually you instruct students one-on-one or in small groups. You're going to, visit their homes, maybe go to businesses or schools, and just spend part of your day teaching maybe children, and then the other half could be business professionals and adults. It's really a wide range of students that you're going to get to teach with, which is kind of cool. And then lastly, for this program, there is no Spanish language requirement, but I would say the more Spanish the better. And the program usually runs from mid-March until mid-December.
Thanks, Sam. So I'm going to tell us a little bit about the CIE difference. So obviously there's many different ways to go abroad. So you could be going abroad on your own. Certainly if you're able to do that, you should do that. Or maybe you'd be looking into going with a recruiter. CIE is not a recruiter, we're a placement provider. So what that means is that you're going to be having your placement before you go to whatever country you're teaching in. We're also going to give you assistance finding housing. As we mentioned earlier, some of our programs have provided housing, and those that don't, we do provide assistance. You'll have help obtaining your work visa as well as any other work permits that you need to have. Sometimes on some of our programs, for example, in Thailand, we are able to cover the cost of that work visa. It just does vary from program to program, but no matter what, we're going to be providing you with detailed instructions and assistance in getting that visa. Additionally, you always have an orientation with our programs, whether it be with our study center abroad or with our partner organization. Most of our programs do have a multi-day orientation, and you definitely will have an orientation to help you adjust to living in a new country. We are able to provide international insurance to all American citizens with iNext, and that's an insurance that's going to be valid for a year regardless of the duration of your program, and it is included in your program fee. So that's something that's going to cover a lot of things that might come up: sickness, illness, injuries while you're abroad, and that's something that's definitely important to think about when you're going abroad. You'll always have 24/7 support, so if you need to call someone for an emergency or a question, there's always going to be someone available in your country that you can call and that will be there to assist you. There's also different special offerings for our programs, a Lonely Planet books for many of our programs, as well as we have Canvas courses for many of our programs, which is a course that you do pre-departure to help you kind of think about what things, languages, or other cultural differences you might need to think about when moving abroad. So you're going to have a lot of support before and during your program, and that's something that we really like to focus on is the support that you will have. So this is Ali Fried. She's the coordinator for our Tefl department. So in our Teach Abroad department, which Sam and I work on, we work very closely with our Tefl department. If you aren't sure what Tefl is, it's Teaching English as a Foreign Language. And Ali's not in the office today, so I'm going to tell us a little bit about the Tefl courses. So what is a Tefl certification? As I mentioned, it's Teaching English as a Foreign Language. This is very similar to TESOL or CELTA, which you may have heard of, or maybe even have the certificate already. So TEFL is needed in many different countries to teach English abroad. As I mentioned earlier, some of the programs we have, for example, in Vietnam or South Korea, you do need to have TEFL certification, and others like Thailand, it is optional. So it's certainly something to consider if it is optional. In Spain and in Thailand, I know it definitely does help you out in the classroom, and something to think about as you're thinking of going abroad. Our TEFL course at CIE is accredited by the International Standards for Certification and the World TEFL Accrediting Commission. So that means that it's going to be recognized worldwide. One really cool thing about the TEFL certification is that it's valid for life. It doesn't expire, so you don't have to get recertified once you're certified. We do have many different programs, but the main one that you normally would need to go and teach abroad on our programs is the 150-hour course. It is a $1,000 value, and it is included in some of our program fees, but it is an optional add-on for programs like Thailand or Spain. The 150-hour certification consists of 130 hours of online coursework and a 20-hour practicum. There's an option to add on another additional 30-hour course if you wanted to go for an age-specific course. And it's a pretty cool course. I'm actually taking it right now myself, and we have very flexible start dates, which I think we'll talk about in the future slide. Another great thing about TEFL certification is that it is peer-reviewed as well. So when can you sign up? So we'd certainly recommend that you do get enrolled and signed up before you go on your program. Some visas require it, and that's one of the reasons why it's, for example, in Vietnam, it's a required part of the program because you need it to get your visa and your work permit. So how do you sign up? You enroll in a course, preferably a minimum of 3 months before your departure date. You'll need to submit a TEFL application 2 weeks before you hope to start class. We do have start dates every 2 weeks. And as I mentioned, it's pretty flexible. So you can work on the course whenever you want. You can do it in the middle of the night. You can do it during the day. It is mostly guided online. There is one time per week where you'll meet with your class and a tutor. But other than that, it's work when you're able to and when you're free. So if you're going to be applying for a program, for example, China or Vietnam, where it's a requirement of the course, it's going to be included in your Teach Abroad application. If you're looking to add on the course to, for example, Spain or Thailand, it's going to be, you can either start an application to add it on and have it in your Teach application, or you can add it at a later date, and then you'd have a separate TEFL application. Either way, we work very closely together, and we're always able to help you get TEFL if that's something that you're interested in. I'd certainly say don't delay. If you want to get TEFL certified, it's better to start earlier than to finish while you're on the program. And if you want to enroll, you can, or look at it more, you can look at it at cia.org/TEFL. As I mentioned, we have the 150-hour course, and you can add 30-hour specialization to that. But there's also another option. If you want to get certified and you just don't think you have time for the 130 hours, you can do the 60-hour course, which has open enrollment throughout the year. So Ali, who you saw on a previous slide, she is available for you at tefl@cia.org or also at the number on the screen. So getting inspired. So a lot of people like social media and want to look at different social media items. So we do have a lot of teacher blogs for our programs. I definitely recommend checking them out, especially if you're interested in a certain program. It can be fun to read about our teachers who are either currently there or have been there in the past. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat. We put our most common ones up there, the Instagram and Facebook pages, and I'd really encourage you to go ahead and follow us. Sometimes we have different takeovers where people from our programs take photos and take it over for a day. and show you what their life is like in Chile or wherever else they may be. So I'd certainly encourage you to check that out if social media is your thing. And we always love to hear from our teachers and also people who are interested in going abroad as well. So at this time, we're going to open it up for questions. Hopefully you guys have some questions and have found this useful, but we're excited to answer any questions that you might have.
So we have one question about our Teach in Spain volunteer program. Are there ways, and this might actually relate to other programs as well, are there ways to interact or talk with some past participants of these programs to kind of get their experiences and hear from them first? For the Spain volunteer program specifically, I would say that it's definitely possible. I would recommend that you reach out to myself. You can, at this point, reach out to me or teach@ciee.org, and you can go ahead and email them, and then we'll email that email, and we'll go ahead and be able to get you in touch with a few of our past volunteer participants. Additionally, I think another great option, it's not necessarily talking back and forth with someone, would be to look at our blogs, which is under the Get Inspired tab of our Teach Abroad website, and you're going to be able to find specific blogs for the specific country where we've had participants share information firsthand about their experiences. We don't regulate those, and so they're giving you the truth of what they feel, the good, the bad, all of it. So that's a great way too. However, for the volunteer program, if you do want to reach out to teach, @ciee.org, you can go ahead and ask for some contact information, and we'll be sure to get back to you with somebody as well.
Then we have a question about program fees. So is the fee likely to go up in 2019? At this point, no. Our fees for 2019 are as advertised. We actually already have programs open for spring 2019 and fall 2019. So definitely the prices listed on the website and that Sam talked about for the Spain program are what they'll be in 2019.
I do see a question, about the Czech Republic and programs in Portugal. I can share a little bit more about the program in Portugal, and then Carrie, I can hand off the Czech Republic piece to you. For the Portugal program, it is a volunteer program, and so you would be working, for about 3 months in a local elementary or secondary middle school. You'd be working about 12 hours a week. You're going to be living with a host family, and then doing that teaching as well. There's really no requirement as far as language or teaching experience. Obviously, if you have some, it's helpful, but don't feel like you need to have any with those programs. They're meant for participants of all areas and all stages as far as their language and ages go for Portugal. Carrie, can you provide a little more information about the Czech Republic?
Definitely. So the Czech Republic is one of our very popular programs. It's our only other program in Europe besides Spain. So it's going to be on a 10-month year. So you're going to go at the end of August, and then you'll teach through June of the following year. So in the Czech Republic, we're working with schools that are within an hour of Prague. And so even if you are working at a school that's slightly out of Prague, you could choose to live in the Prague Center if you wanted to commute. So it's a great program where you're pretty centrally located along with the other teachers. This year we're sending about 25 teachers, and the program is growing. Oftentimes you might be a language assistant, but you also might be the lead teacher in your classroom, and we're typically teaching elementary to middle-aged students. There are a few positions for high school, but in general you should plan on having a full-time teaching schedule while you're there, and also being able to be near Prague so that you can check out things in Prague. In terms of requirements for the Czech Republic, there are no age or language requirements, so you certainly can apply at any age. As with a lot of programs, I'd say if you're over 60, I think a lot of times schools are hesitant to hire people, but certainly we've had great teachers over the age of 60, so it does depend for all of our programs on your age. You should always check because oftentimes we're able to find a way to accommodate, as there are great people of all ages who can teach.
I also see a question, about bringing families and dependents with you to foreign countries, especially, specific to Spain as well. I would say, with our academic year programs for Spain, the ones teaching in public schools, it is possible to bring dependents. CIE cannot, help you with the visa aspect of that or anything else, but outside of them, they'd be unable to stay with you during orientation in our hotel accommodation. However, after that, you're going to be pretty independent, and so you can, bring your family, bring your children, anything like that. That's totally fine. You would just have to kind of work out those logistics. And, for the volunteer program, however, because you are staying with a host family, and this is kind of it's a cultural immersion exchange, that you wouldn't be able to bring, more than just yourself with those host families, and we wouldn't recommend trying to find different accommodation. The goal is to blend together and to immerse yourself with each other and learn from that. So for volunteer programs, I would say you are unable to bring dependents with you. However, for the academic year programs in public schools, that is totally fine.
And a comment on that for a lot of our other programs. So many of our programs, you are not able to bring non-participant dependent spouses or partners. So you definitely want to check. In Spain, as Sam mentioned, it is okay. But for example, in Thailand, it's typically not possible. But in Vietnam, it's okay. So always check with your coordinator if you plan to bring dependents, which kind of relates to another question that I see in that. Can you teach abroad with someone? Yes. In many of our programs, you are able to go abroad with a friend, partner, or spouse. And oftentimes, you're able to even live with them and teach at the same school. So again, it is program specific, but in general, we are able to accommodate that. And we have a lot of successful people going with either one or two friends and being able to teach abroad.
I'm also seeing a question, about placements. Are you able to request specific placements within these specific, within the countries and the specific cities within those countries? I would say that in most of those applications that you're filling out, you're going to have the opportunity to input your preferences. However, we cannot, guarantee that you're going to be placed in, right in Santiago or right in the city center of Madrid or right, in Prague or something like that. However, we do our best to try to match your preferences. Many times we offer those placements based on commitment deposits and the date of those. And so the earlier you commit, the more likely you are to have a lot of those preferences matched. However, we just can't make any promises or guarantees with those.
And in relation to that, I think it's important to remember that when you're teaching abroad, your hiring school is your employer. And so it's important for you to remember that they are actually hiring you. It's your job. There's also a lot of opportunities on many of the programs to travel. Of course, we all know part of teaching abroad is traveling. So it's important to remember to make teaching our priority, but then also you certainly will have time and often extra funds to be able to travel on weekends or holidays or things like that. So certainly lots of opportunities for travel on these programs as well.
And in many of these countries that you're going to, public transportation is really going to be abundant. You're going to have a lot of buses, trains, planes, ways to get around. So don't feel that because you're not maybe right in the city center of things and in the heart of everything that you're not going to be able to explore those and get to those places. I think you're going to have a lot of opportunities to do so.
All right, so it looks like questions are slowing down a little bit. Definitely encourage you to write any last-minute questions you might have. We still have a couple others that we're going to answer. But we also want to make sure that you can always reach out to us at teach@ciee.org, or you can also call us. Our number's listed on our website. If you have a pen, I'll say it now, but it's 1-800-407-8839, and then it's extension 4. But you can easily find that information on our website, or even the personal numbers for Samantha, myself, Sagan, and Luke. And so we'll give you another minute to write any other questions and definitely keep answering those. So we do have a question about cars specifically for the Dominican Republic. So do you need a car? Is everything in walking distance? Typically, we would encourage our teachers not to be driving unless you have the proper international licenses or rules. Normally on our programs, you're not going to need to provide a motorbike or car or something like that. You're going to be close to where you want to go or have the public transportation to get there. So we do not recommend driving abroad, especially if you don't have the proper documentation that you need to do that.
All right, so we're going to keep it open for a few more minutes here to see if we have any other, last minute questions, about any of the programs. It could be, with pay, hours, what exactly would you be doing? Is there a teacher in the classroom? Is there not? Anything like that, we're more than happy to answer those questions for you. As Carrie mentioned, you can also reach out to us at TEACH at CIEE.org if you have any additional questions, maybe something popped up later and you wanted to ask that, more than welcome to reach out. I think we had briefly mentioned this, talked about this a little bit as well, about programs with age requirements. Carrie had mentioned mostly if you are over the age of 60, there may be limitations, but just reach out to us and let us know which specific country or program that you're interested in. Other than that, there's lots of opportunities. I know Spain, the volunteer and regular the academic year program offer lots of opportunities for participants of all ages. Just depends, and just reach out to us and we're more than happy to help you.
Yeah, we're definitely always here and excited to talk to you. So if you think of other questions right when we sign off today, certainly reach out to us. If you think of them later, we're happy to help you find a program that works for you and that's the best fit for you. So I think that our questions have kind of tapered off, so we're going to go ahead and there is our contact information. I'll leave that up for a minute and let you write that down at some of the numbers that I rattled off a little bit earlier, but the top number and website is for our Teach Abroad team, and then the bottom is for our Tefl team where Ali works. And again, we really appreciate you taking the time to join us today and to consider going on some of our programs. So hopefully you found this informative. We'll leave it open for another minute or so if you think of a last minute question, but otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. All right, so it does look like there are no other questions, so thanks so much for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.